Okay, so first off, thank you for being here. I
Of
appreciate
course.
the fact that you actually listened to the old show meant so much to me. So like the minute you said that, I was like, well, I'm canceling everything. Well, I'm reading this week. Like I had to be on board for this. But like genuinely, I always tell people, what's the origin story? What got you to pick up a comic for the first time? Because like for me, it was my mom brought one of the scariest Batman books by Jim Starlin at home for the first time, and it scarred me for life. So like, what is your origin getting into comics?
I mean, it's really similar. My parents were quite religious, right? So, they were part of our church and all that stuff. And I think the idea was to get me to understand the meaning of Easter, right? Jesus dies, comes back to life. So they got me the death and return of Superman. And all I learned, right, like, it was like such a reach, but what I learned, like, I got this Easter basket that just had, Superman in the black costume with the biggest gun possible and Doomsday. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but I need a mullet, I need a big gun, and that's comics, baby, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I've been into them ever since. So I'm not a religious guy, so it didn't work that way, but I do love comics now. So that was my origin story. But I did grow up in the middle of the woods, so there wasn't a lot of Superman, Spider-Man, anything like that other than Saturday morning cartoons. Right. So I loved Archie growing up. Archie Comics was the only thing that the local store got. So I've read every double digest there ever was. Sonic Comics for a long time were Archie. So a lot of the weird stuff until right around Civil War happened. We got a bookstore about an hour away, because literal woods, and I walk into the store and I see that half of the cover is taken up. And I've heard the whispers of Onslaught. I had heard the stories past of these really cool crossovers, and now I was seeing one face to face at the actual comic book shop. And then I was in. I bought every single copy. I've read all of Civil War. Wolverine sitting there. You just hunted down the guy that blew up everybody.
Intro is Civil War. That's a hell of an intro.
Dude, it's heavy, man. I'm reading it as like they blow up the school. I'm like, oh my god. But I was hooked. I got it, and then I got into Teen Titans, and it's been a wash ever since. Like the only thing I read is comics, and that's not true. But I read a lot of them.
So were you one of the young kids like myself who followed like Spider-Man from Team Iron Man and Team Cap, or were you dedicated to one side? I have to know.
No, like it was. I saw him join Iron Man, and I had been reading Spider-Man then, like, I had gotten back issues and tried to catch up, and I understood him from the 90s cartoon, and I understood why he picked Iron Man. Like, this is stability. Coming as a poor kid, like, in the middle of nowhere, like, my roof leaked until I was 30. I could see the sky. Like, I understood, like, we'll go where the money is. I understand the thing of stability. But the hooks that they get into you, such a good analogy for Spider-Man, yes. I understood, and then because he's still good, he still switches sides, even though it's going to hurt him financially and the people that he cares about. We don't need to get into back in black, but
we'll be here all day.
Exactly. But so like I followed it along, but I love Civil War. And I know a lot of people don't like it, and there's lots of good critiques of Civil War.
Sure.
But as like an impressionable kid, I think I was like 10 or 11 right around then. And it being my intro into mainstream monthly comics, man,
it definitely is
cool.
A crazy start, and like it's crazy because that was such a crazy parallel to our lives at that point. Like I remember I had just started collecting comics around the same time, because that was when Johns' Teen Titans started. And
yes, it's so good.
That's one of my favorite runs to this day. Like
Same,
I always say that Jeff Johns is my Gwyneth Paltrow, because I love some of his stuff, but I hate some of his stuff. Like, did you write Teen Titans? And I love you for it. Yes. Did you bring back Hal Jordan? And I hate you for it. Yes. So it's a complicated relationship.
Man, they really they convinced us that Legacy was cool. So like the passing of the mantle, we got Wally West, we got Kyle Rayner, we got Dick Grayson's Batman, not to mention all the stuff going on in Marvel, and then they took it all away from us. Yes. And then they wonder why we're mad. We're like, no, pass the mantle. Let Sam be fucking Captain America now. Like, what are you doing? Quit taking it away from me. I loved this as a kid.
It's insane, but it's crazy too, because I was just watching your video where you talked about how a lot of your toys got ruined when you were a kid, and like I wanted to touch on that, because like I had not as a more act of God situation happen to me, but like my mom was very much like, you got to get out of Batman land, you have to get out of like comic book land, and she threw away a lot of my stuff as I got older.
I'm so sorry. That hurts. It hurts the childhood.
I know, right? So when I went to college, that's when I started recollecting a lot of my stuff because I would always like get stuff from the library. So that she was like, "Oh, you're reading? Okay, cool. I'll leave you alone." But like, I never got back to collecting until college. And the idea with you is that like you're having to piece apart everything from your childhood back, and it seems like it's influenced your writing a lot. What is that like for you?
Oh man, it's 1,000% influenced it because I put away like the childish stuff, right? Like that's where I left, and then I became a dad, and I met the love of my life, and I learned that it was okay to bring that back and like find joy where you can, and especially when like we're in a place where the world is not kind and the economy isn't easy on any of us. So why am I pushing off joy? And having kids and being able to share that stuff with them has basically given me permission to live out that childhood a little bit again. And some of my favorite pieces of media right now are pieces of media that either touch on that nostalgia, revel in it, or at least embrace it in some aspect. So that's always a part of my story, is I bring in everything that I love as a kid. I just sold a script that was basically Digimon. A little bit heavier, but I'm like, how cool is that? That I get to, you know...
Fan. Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Oh, dude, man, I love that stuff. So it's always a big part of it, and I get to revel in my fandom in every aspect. Now, I've never been able to write for any of the big publishers that have the big IPs that I care about, but I still bring it in. I write Alice Lost in Wonderland for Mr. Fish Comics, another indie friend of mine. I love doing that, and I was a big Wizard of Oz fan as a kid. So he writes Alice Lost in Wonderland, but it's got all that public domain stuff. And I was like, well, I don't know Alice as much, but I know everything there is about everything Wizard of Oz. So, like, I pour through my old public domain books, adding little bits in there. And because that's the only way, growing up as a 90s kid, the only way I know how to be a fan is actively. Toss everything in the kitchen sink that we love. If you see something, you go, that reminds me of this, and you're reading a T.S. Luther comic book, you're spot on. That is what I'm talking about. Indiana Jones Hunt Short Round? Yes, because I grew up loving Indiana Jones. Like, it's going to be in there. And I can't separate from it. So if you ever feel like I'm a little bit derivative, you're correct.
And like, see, now I want to like have you play the American McGee games. That way I can get your take on those. Because like that right there is Alice in Wonderland on crack. So like,
right?
If you embracing that right there, are you excited for Wicked since you're a Wizard of Oz fan though?
I mean, I'm not. I like some musical theater stuff. Wicked passed me by when I was younger.
Really?
I never had aspect. Nah, I never. And I love musical stuff. Like Little Shop of Horrors is one of my favorite pieces of media. Period. But my kids love Wicked, and I live with my niece and nephew as well, and she's the weirdest little 4-year-old possible. Her favorite thing on this planet is Wicked and The Greatest Showman. So we get like, while I'm not the biggest fan necessarily, my entire house is covered in Wicked and Wicked for Good paraphernalia. We just bought tickets. Like everyone is so pumped. I've been trying to get everyone in the house.
Or is that like a green screen thing?
Oh no, the room is green. You're nailing it. It is very popular in the house, and that's not a coincidence. Like it is all a part of it. I love like the movie, like the old MGM movie, and I love the Scotty Young comic book that he did for Marvel. I love that adaptation. I read that with my kids. That's partly why they love Wizard of Oz and Wicked. So it runs deep here, but Wicked is a little bit of a missed opportunity for me and my nostalgia. I've seen it now. I like it, but
now thoughts on the Wiz though. Like I gotta know.
Oh, the Wiz is fantastic. Like what are you talking about here? Also trying to get me canceled right off the bat. Like, oh, this guy doesn't like the Wiz. Get him off the internet.
Like this is a black hosted show, so I had to be that guy. And be like, hey, yo, are you cultured? Like, I had to know.
They're coming for me right now. They found out how much mayonnaise I put in my salads, and then they asked me about the Wiz.
But like that's the cool part though, is that like, and we were talking about on the show, I love how conscious you are with this book, because like you aren't falling into the same trappings that I see on social media where these people are like, oh no, my comic book is better than the big two because I tell the story that I want from my childhood. It's like Rob Liefeld on crack, where they're like they're happy about the way they do white stories, but like you like and what I loved about the art, I love your artist so much because it feels not like how caricatures of like marginalized characters were back in olden times. Like it feels as if you're conscious of the medium you're doing and being conscious of the marginalized groups. Like it sucks to say, but you almost captured some of the like inspiration from Disney with recent stuff they've been doing with the Spanish characters. And I was like, that's really cool that you're actually being conscious of you're stepping into someone else's world.
I mean, thank you, man. I'm glad that you notice. It's a big thing for me to not like just close the door to anybody. I want everybody to be able to enjoy my story, not just people that look like me. And it's you got to be really careful if you're going to write a story that has people that don't look like you. It doesn't matter what aspect. It's not off the limb. I hate when people say like I can't write that, I don't look like that. But you need to be respectful and you need to be conscious of it. And it's not hard in this day and age to do your research, to pay attention, to ask those communities, hey, am I doing a good job here? Are you offended by this? And to listen if they say that they are. I got asked a couple of weeks ago on a podcast, they said, when you do this research, do you push back ever when they say, yeah, I don't like that? And do I ever double down and say, well, that's the way that I'm doing it? And never. If anyone ever told me, hey, I don't like that, that is offensive, this is harmful, then it's gone. It's disappeared. That doesn't happen often because I know how to read, but it's that simple. It's not hard. It's not all like this is not the most woke book you're ever gonna read, and people are gonna be upset because I have an agenda. It's just not offensive to most people because I tried. And it's not that difficult. I didn't go for the most historically accurate thing ever. I'm sure there's different inaccuracies in there.
There's some mythological like playfulness about it for sure.
Right, exactly. It's still an Indiana Jones type story, right? But it wasn't that hard to call up a few museums to do some research. Me and Sam Goodlin, my amazing co-creator and artist on this, we look stuff up, go to museums. We called museums and said, hey, what did this look like? We talked to Latino communities. We talked to people in Mexico going, hey, what would this have been like? What have you seen about this? Do you know anybody who saw anything close to this? It was not difficult, and that's where I think a lot of my frustration comes when someone who looks like me doubles down, because it was not hard. I'm not a smart guy. I don't have a lot of resources, and like it was just as simple as asking people. And I wish more people would do it because, like I said, it wasn't that difficult to go, hey, is this mean? Is this offensive? If the answer was no, it can stay in the book. Like, not hard to do at all, man.
Which is wild because like we've seen things like I know like from a video game perspective, there's been the rise of the hatred for things like Sweet Baby Inc. and whatnot, where they see sensitivity consultants as a bad thing. They see it as, oh, you're too soft, or oh, you're too woke. Like you said, you're actually taking the time to listen rather than just being like, oh, you can be okay with a big lit black character or something like that. Like, no,
yeah, deal with it.
Right, like you're actually being what Stan Lee aspired to. The idea of saying we're going to make sure my book is like the world outside our door.
Oh, man, I appreciate that. Those are huge shoes to fill, so I won't concur with you on that. But I try to make sure that people will enjoy the book. That's my biggest thing, is I don't need to hurt anybody's feeling to sell a copy. And if I'm going to tell a story that's not necessarily 100% mine to tell, the least I can do is a little research. And that's what I aim to do. And I try to aim for a story that I can relate to. And being a middle-aged white dude in the Midwest, I can relate to appropriation. I can relate to seeing things in museums that don't belong there. And I can find an end to a story. It's okay to see yourself as the villain somewhere. I think a lot of people who look like me push back hard against that. They take a lot of offense. They get really, really upset internally to recognize that they have benefited from that privilege. And so they will never paint themselves on that light, or somebody who looks like them in that light. And that's so dumb. It's right. Not. It's so easy to be like, well, my life is a lot easier because I'm white, and I get to see a lot of cool stuff in museums all the way throughout my life, even in the middle of the Midwest, because they were stolen from there. Yeah. So if we can all talk about that, then we can approach it. Plus, it's a story you haven't seen before. Indiana Jones is always the hero. It belongs in a museum. People have seen that before, and you can still do it. Disney just put out one. Yeah. So if you want to see a different angle of it, you can buy my book.
They just put it out.
They did put it out there, and I'm a giant Indiana Jones fan, and I saw that movie, and that's where I'm going to end what I have to say about that movie. I saw it.
I mean, I'm still a Crystal Skull defender because I think right. There was something to be said there in the narrative.
There's still something good in there. Yeah. Something. I don't know, not about all things, but there's something interesting in there to be had. You know,
there was actual Cannibal Shia LaBeouf in there, but like it's still cool.
Oh man, yeah, there was definitely a Shia LaBeouf. Why? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of questions there, but he was in it, and you don't have to pretend like it doesn't exist. That's okay.
Right, and it's crazy that you're comfortable talking about a group of people right now that are kind of under attack, and in our like community right now, where like you're being willing not only to paint your like white people as the villain in a certain way, like, and also you're being okay talking about a marginalized group that's kind of on hard times right now. You're making yourself be a vehicle to tell a story about people who matter. And I don't know, like, has there been any discussion with people making sure that's authentic? Because the struggle, like, you talk about like capitalism in a big way there in the narrative. Like, I want to make sure people still want to go read the book, but the idea of lack of healthcare, lack of different things going on in the narrative, like, what was that like? What were those conversations like with people?
I mean, a lot of it was just a conscious effort to show people that this is not a new thing. It's just extra hard right now, and you're seeing it on the news. This is, like, the fact that marginalized communities are being attacked right now by this administration just is more blatant. It's not new. And so, like, that's definitely a conscious part, like, about the story, is to show it's like, hey, this isn't new. We've been doing this for a long time. So if you think and you feel like all of a sudden you're being attacked because you're an adult and you're a taxpayer and somehow you're contributing to this even though you're not actively harming communities, just know that it feels like that because they've been under attack forever. And forever by people who look like us. Like, it just look up the history of the Spanish language and ask yourself why people in Mexico don't speak an indigenous language and why they speak Spanish. It's just as simple as that. If you fall on that rabbit hole, you can see. And so I don't think anything that I'm doing is crazy. I'm just telling the story that is the truth. And if you see that it has parallels between now and then, well, that's something to think about, right? Like, that's not something that I'm creating here. It's really easy to point out that people were still marginalized back then because they were, like, I don't have to try that hard to find a parallel.
Most definitely. And I love that you like made sure with like the opening portion, and even though you say the line, it belongs in a museum, like you blame that. I could hear Harrison Ford on the page and it was so funny, but it's like you're also kind of like flipping it where it's like, does it belong in a museum?
Right.
And you're not afraid to ask that question.
And because, like, we already have those stories. We have the stories where Indiana Jones and people of his ilk are the hero. I love Uncharted. I love Indiana Jones. I love Tomb Raider. I love those stories, and I have reverence for it, and I don't want Indy to be the bad guy. But if we were to look at it just in a little bit of a different light, maybe a slightly more realistic light even, you can ask that question. And that's a story that hasn't been told as often, is seeing these treasure hunters, which is really what they are, for what they are, which are thieves and burial robbers and grave robbers. And taking things that don't belong to them and not putting them in a place where everybody can see it. That's a big part of it. It'd be different if it was a place where everybody was welcome. But a lot of those museums that they ended up on, people aren't able to get there. The people that it was taken from aren't able to get there and see those things. Yeah. And so, like, it's okay to tell that story. I think that's something that I try really hard to do, is to show that it's okay for Indiana Jones to be the bad guy sometimes in the stories. If you're personally offended by that, I think that you need to go see a therapist. It's when people, like, go see a remake of a movie and they go, it ruined my childhood. And you go, but your childhood is still right there. You can still rent Transformers. I understand that I also didn't like a lot of the Michael Bay movies, but I can still watch Transformers. It's still there. It doesn't have to take away. It can be additive. And so if you're looking for a horror tinge or like a cat and mouse thriller with your Indiana Jones, I got it here for you. If you're like, never, Indiana Jones is only the good guy, how dare you, get off my plane, then you can go and watch Indiana Jones. It's still there, man.
Right. And like, I cannot wait. I don't know if it's going to be like in February or March, but I cannot wait for people to read issue 2. Yeah. Because like, just because it's that reveal, I love how you kind of flip it on its head a little bit, where we're so used to the older generation being like, back in my day, I have this narrative about this random thing that I got from this person and yada yada. But then it's like, oh no. And it's such a crazy thing, because the amount of stories that I've heard over the years from people of like, oh, this rinky dink thing that I got, or oh, this story, the such and such. But then you hear, or like you see what happens, and it like paints a different perspective of the things like you said, like, yeah, they're thieves. Like, the things that happen are very dynamic, and you make it show that maybe everything is not what it seems. And like hats off to the youngin' dudes. Like, I'm gonna get this bag. Real
I'm gonna
quick.
get this bag, man.
I'm gonna get it done. And the dudes are like, nah, man, hold up. We gonna take you out of here. It's gonna be all right. And he's like, nah, I'm here for the bag, man. What do you mean? And then it's like, oh no.
I mean, it's a testament. Like, as a kid, like, I would have never asked the question, like, who is Indiana Jones taking this stuff from? It doesn't matter what movie it is in. When I watch any movie, like, I was a big proponent of, like, kung fu movies as a kid. I watched everything I could. I didn't care who was getting beat up. It was just cool to watch the action. I couldn't see past that layer. And it's the same thing with the kid in the story. You know, like, he just knows that he needs to get this money for his grandma. So if this guy's willing to give it, who cares what anybody has to say? And this guy seems nice to him. He offered him money. He saved him from getting in trouble. Why wouldn't he trust him? He's got nobody else that he can trust. And so, like, as a kid, like, if you don't have somebody looking out for you to make sure that you're okay, a lot of bad things can happen. And it's really as simple as that. So I don't mind putting the kid in a little bit of peril and have him working against it, because I have two little ones at home. Their survival skills are almost nothing. And that's because they got someone like me looking out for them at home. You know, like, I can make sure that they don't have to learn this lesson. This is how the kid learns that lesson, is you cannot trust everybody, and especially not everybody who's about to hand you money. And
I love that. I love that so much, because, like, especially because that was always something that I always wondered watching, like, Indiana Jones 2 back in the day, because, like, we okie dokie Dr. Jones, but, like, he's one of those things where you wonder, how did this happen? And we still, to this day, we never really, like, learned how that relationship formed, especially because Temple of Doom, he's gone. But, like, it makes you wonder how this happened, why did it happen, but also why is their relationship so strong? So it's almost like you're kind of doing, like, to be topical to current comic books, you're kind of doing like an absolute universe, like how DC's doing, where you're just dropping a little bit of Omega energy into the pile. Like,
a
what if
1000%,
there's a
man.
little bit of difference in there to the story we know and love?
I mean, that was like a big part of the opening sequence, right? Like, he tries to pickpocket the Digger, and that's how they meet. Because that's the only way that we hear a little bit about Indiana Jones and Short Round's relationship. Is he goes, well, he tried to take my wallet, and we've been working together ever since. You know, something to that effect. And I kind of wanted to show that, but also, he immediately puts that boy in danger. Like, they go on this awesome whirlwind adventure to a place where people are being tortured and eaten, and, you know, rituals are being, you know, activated, and there's child labor underneath this mine for some reason. Like that kid is not having a good time in that movie. And so, like, just like how if Indiana Jones fights Nazis in Raiders, right? Like, that's awesome. We get to see him fight evil. I love that.
Sure.
Those are not the only, like, artifacts he has, right? So if he's doing that thing other places, who else is he fighting? Who else is he taking it away from? Did everything go down smoothly? And that's where you get into, where did this artifact come from? How did it get there? They don't ask how. They just put it up on the pedestal and put somebody's name on it. And so this book really is just about asking those questions. Well, if the kid met him, how did he meet? If they went and got this artifact, how did they actually get it? If you just look, if you're willing to ask questions about anything throughout history, you'll see that there's a little bit more than meets the eye, and you'll see that you're not always told 100% of the truth. And, you know, war is written by the victors, all of that stuff. You can just, if you just ask a few questions, it's okay to not just go off what Google tells you or what your favorite, you know, Brogan podcast tells you. Yes, man, it's not hard. And it doesn't also have to come from people who look like me, which I know is a backwards way to say, you know, read my book, but it's okay.
But it's like, I love that though, because like you're willing to change people's perspective on something. And even in the first issue where dude's just like, all right, cool, like if you got the bag, I'll take you where you need to go. And then it's like, oh, the other side of the door flips, and you're like, oh, like you I sent it to you in the DM like yesterday, but I was like, I kept being like, damn, damn, like it was just a constant thing as I'm reading this, because it was just like not only is the art gorgeous, like nonstop banger, but it was just like the flipping of the perspective. It was like the mirror kept cracking on the original indie in such a satisfying way, and it was like, yeah, I can hear Harrison in here a little bit, but also you're like, damn, like it's really intriguing.
And like I wanted it to be visceral, I wanted it to be violent, I wanted there to be a reason for you to pick up this book. Because if I ever get the chance to write a book, I don't work for Marvel, I don't work for DC, I probably never will get the chance to after a book like
never
this.
Say never,
but...
man. Like I've seen, look at people like Jason Aaron. Like you've seen indie, but like you've
Right.
seen indie like fly in big ways recently. So but what I would say, don't like stop like hoping for big things, but
Right,
keep
and, like,
making each one passionately great.
And that's the thing, is like, if I'm not working for them, because if you're there's more rules. I would love to follow those rules. Hire me, Marvel. But until I am there, what I will do is tell the story that you're not going to get anywhere else. And what you're not seeing right now is something like this. And so, like, I love cracking the mirror because I'm a proponent of the page flip. I love all of the cliffhangers. It's the only way to control pace in a story. And so if I can show you the thing that you might not be expecting, or what's more fun about the Digger is you are expecting it. You know that something bad's on the other side of that door, but how bad is it? And what doesn't that kid know? And how much fun can you have with it? So I love just showing off just a little bit of how much trouble is this kid in? How much peril can I put him towards? Because you're still reading it, and you're hoping that something bad doesn't happen to this kid. Right. I hope. And so I just want to just drag that along as much as possible. Plus, Sam Goodlin's art is so cool. How can you not want to see something awful with him drawing it? Like, I have to fight the urge to put every other page as a splash page just because I want to see him blow every single panel up that big.
And it's like, I'm really intrigued to see if you're going to keep it grounded or if you're going to like drop those little like Ark of the Covenant level supernatural elements. Because like, especially with his art, it makes me excited to see like what a mystical mumbo jumbo artifact would happen to the Digger or something. And then the kid just gets more confused as the thing goes on, because you're expanding his worldview more with that. And it's like, I would love to see a supernatural end to that.
I mean, that was a big talk that we had as we were pitching this book. When they said, hey, we want it, we had written the first few issues, but we didn't quite know how we wanted it to end. So it was a big conversation. Do we do a big supernatural reveal? And I won't tell you how it ends by any means, but what I did want to do, and what Sam really was excited about, is making you question if it goes to the supernatural. Like, what are you seeing? Is it realistic? So you're going to be asking that question as you go throughout. But we will say this, like, it's written as a 4-issue miniseries, so it can be a trade. This will be a graphic novel forever from Invader Comics. But if it sells really well, if it goes to second printing, we're going to do 45 sequels. The Digger returns, the Digger's in space, the Digger takes Manhattan. Like, you know, like, we're going to get it as supernatural as possible. The Digger versus Jason, the Digger versus Michael. Like, we'll do all the crazy stuff. The joke is right now, it's a very, you know, normal, grounded story. If it sells 1 million copies, you'll see that hand busting out holding the shovel, and, you know, the Digger will return, and we'll do whatever they pay us to do, because we're all poor, so we want to work in comics. I tell people all the time, like, I'll sell out. No one's writing any checks yet, so you know it's all authentic, but I got 2 kids at home. I gotta sell some comics.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like, it was funny because you started touching on that. I was gonna flip it on its head. I don't want to spoil things, and thankfully you didn't either, but it's like, I'm more intrigued of what a prequel would look like, where, because there's that moment of like, where dude's salty, like dude is super salty, and then that one moment of the first issue, and I'm like, oh, so something happened here. Oh, what happened here? And I would love, like, I would, like, people used to always joke about young Indiana Jones and stuff like that, or like Tom Holland doing that instead of.
I loved young Indiana Jones, man.
Like, I would want like young Digger, but I would want like, how did he get bitter? How did he get messed up? Like, I would love that aspect of it, because the minute that like the thing happens in the first issue, and I was like, ooh, you got some baggage there. There's some sodium in your veins. You salty. Like, what's going on here?
And we see glimpses of the Digger's past throughout the issues, right? In issue 2, you get like a bigger flashback of like the first time he brought home an artifact, the first time he got something to show his caretaker, and he learns some valuable lessons there, or some hurtful ones. We'll see. But like, you're going to see a little bit of that. But again, the world's their oyster. If people love this story and they go, I want to see more of it, I'm not above writing more. I know where that story is. I have more stories to tell in this universe. But I also want you to know that if you pick up 1 through 4, you get the whole story. You're not going to feel left out. You're not going to miss it. But there's more stuff to tell. There's a lot of artifacts he's taken over the years. We could show any number of those. We could show how he gets so bitter and angry and how he learns these skills. You know, how did I get these scars? We'll tell you. Like, if enough money is on the table, I'll tell every story in this universe.
That's what's up. I like your ambition with it, and like the one thing I'm really intrigued about that, because like with this project that I'm doing, where I'm trying to highlight more like indie creators, there's some people that are just doing this on a Kickstarter. They're doing this on their own bag, but you've had the blessing to work with Invader Comics, and like there's been the rise of people like Vault and Invader and Ignition. Like I was like in their eyes today, and it's like I love the idea that it isn't just the Marvel and the DC and Image and Dark Horse are barely surviving. I love that we're seeing more people willing to tell stories that aren't just the cape and the cowl. Like what, like is that like that journey, like going from just knocking on every door to knocking on everyone's door with a little bit of backing to you?
I mean, it's a game changer, just period. We were talking before we were recording, being able to walk into a shop today going, hey, my new book is coming out. I'd love if you at least pre-ordered me a copy, but I know customers at this shop would love to see it. And them going, yeah, what's the order code? Being able to give it to them setting up a little space for it in the shop because local sells, as they told me today. And shout out to Comic City. And they ordered a bunch of copies for me. But before, like, I've tried to sell indie comics at that exact shop, and they said, no, we don't want your green crayon scribbled story. We're not doing that. We buy from distributors, kid. Right. Like it was really hard. And I've done the Kickstarter roundup. I was on Zoop for my first book, Tokyo Fire. Yeah, I've been everywhere that you could, crowdfund a book, and it's a struggle. And pitching this to a publisher and them saying yes, Invader Comics was the only publisher that we pitched to. Because like I've pitched stuff other places before, and I was just starting to get to a place in indie where I have a big enough portfolio where people are opening up my emails. They're not saying yes, but they're opening them. Like they're at least looking at me from the slush pile. And this going to Invader has opened so many doors. I joke, but like people are talking about pulling it on League of Comic Geeks. I got followed by the Ringo Awards. I'm not nominated for anything.
You had an article on Bleeding Cool, which says a lot about you.
Dude, exactly, man. Like
awesome.
It's going places, and it is a definite change of pace. People are at least answering my emails because like you were amazing. Like obviously was a fan of your old podcast, and I mean I love podcasts period, but seeing you come back on and being willing to talk to me was such a cool thing. There's a lot of people who won't. Like I email a lot of places and I am not big enough. They're never rude. They either ghost me, like they just pure silence, I don't hear from them, or they're really kind and like, hey, we don't have room for an indie creator. You like that's that, like they're never mean, but like that is they don't have time because they get to talk to people from Mad Cave. Mad Cave. I've heard about Mad Cave nonstop. Hey, I don't have any spots because I'm talking to 45 people from Mad Cave. But there are still people in the industry who are pros at another level that still need to sell books. Matt Fraction is talking to people on podcasts, and lots of podcasts, because he needs to sell Batman. And so the fact that the bigger industry at large does not chew up creators and spit them out the same way, I love that. It means there are fewer spots for someone new like me to break in. It's a little bit harder to do, but I don't begrudge it because I love all those books. I want to read Matt Fraction's Batman. I want to see another Tynion book. I picked up 2 today. Like, I love that these people can still work, Like, I can't wait for FML from Deconic to come out and trade because I'm a trade waiter because I'm poor and I got to get the best value. So, like, I love that these creators still get to do stuff. It does mean there are fewer chances for someone like me, but I'm a comic book fan first before I'm a comic book writer. So I like that they're able to do that. If I ever get to join them, I'll be ecstatic. But for now, the fact that Invader Comics gave me a chance is the coolest thing that I could have ever hoped for.
And like, I'm really intrigued because I'm already talking to the guys from Invader to have them on the show because I want to
Oh, you
like
gotta.
give people the ability. And what's wild is like Mad Cave was small. Like I don't you listened
Yeah.
to the panel back in the day. Like Mad Cave was a small operation back in the day, and I remember reading like their first two books, and
Right?
now they've grown to where they are now, where they're actually competing with Vault and Image and whatnot. But now Invader and Ignition are coming in. What is that experience like for you though? Like how can you like give people like an elevator pitch to like look at Invader, to look at these different like these newer publishers, and not just be like, oh, I'm gonna go pick up my Batman book, or oh, I'm gonna go pick up like, oh, the like I trust a Boom book or an Image book.
Right.
What would you say to them to make them look in Invader's direction?
I mean, I would say that it doesn't have to be either or. The thing that I hear most when I pitch people a different book from one of those smaller companies is like, well, I read Batman. It's like, that's awesome. You can read Batman and this other
Yes.
stuff. It's not either or. You can do both. These other books get to do stuff that isn't beholden to 100 years of history sometimes. It's
Yeah.
not beholden to this gigantic corporation. And they're usually created by teams that love comic books so much that they started their own publisher. And that's where, like, I love working with the Invader guys. They're willing to take chances on someone small like me because that's where they were just a few years before. Almost everybody on the Invader team has written a comic book, has drawn a comic book, has edited a comic book. And so like they're doing it for the love of the game. They're not making any money off me, the Digger, or most of the books that they're putting out. They're usually breaking even. They're usually just getting enough to pay for the printing. They agreed to do all 4 issues of the Digger because they liked issue 1, not because they saw dollar signs, because trust me, there are none here to be had. I have no clout in the industry. I'm a nobody for all intents and purposes. They saw issue 1 and said, this looks cool. I like comic books. I like this comic book. I want to read issue 2. So let's greenlight all 4 issues. And that's what they did. And they want to do it because they love comics. So if you see these smaller companies, know that they're in it for the love of the game. And if you like comic books, if you love comic books, give these smaller companies a shot because they're just like you. And in a way that a lot of those larger companies can't be because they're so big. Everybody who makes comic books loves comic books. There's not enough money in this industry for people to hate comic books and still work in it.
Yeah.
But there's a love and there's a passion when you see these smaller companies because most of them have other jobs. They have a second gig, they have a third gig, and they're doing this because they want more stories to be told. And a lot of these stories can't be at Marvel or DC because that's a machine that Spider-Man makes run. Marvel does not have a Vertigo line because they can't do it. They need to make Spider-Man, man. Like that is what keeps
Like
the
they're
lights
even
on there.
outsourcing the Disney books to IDW and stuff like that.
Exactly. So it's like as funny as it sounds that they can't do it, but they really can't. They have to keep all those people employed. They got to keep those books going. So these smaller publishers are doing a service to the industry, telling stories that you're not going to get anywhere else. And they're curators. They care about comics. You don't see a lot of slush come from these places. You don't see a lot of fodder that goes, well, we just need to get 50 books out this month because
Honestly,
we
just
have
like,
to.
like some of the covers that I'm seeing just off the website because I was looking at it this morning and like yesterday, like it feels very much like they're willing to take risks with their titles.
Man, because they love comics. They just want to get these stories out there, and so they'll find stuff that nobody else is doing. A perfect example. So I wrote a book called Tokyo Fire a few years before. I pitched
saw
it
that
to
on your channel. Yeah.
Oh man, I'd love to send you a copy. I love that book. Sky Hawkins, the artist and co-creator, love that book. But I had pitched it to Invader, and they were like, "Listen, we like this book. We're already putting out a cyberpunk funny book right now." And so it's like, not that we don't think this story is good, not that we don't think it needs to be told, but we have to curate our line. We can't put out 100 books. We're only putting out 10, and we already have a book like that, and our readers are already going to get something like that. We wouldn't be giving back to the industry if we're putting out 4 of those books this year. And so if you look at the Invader line, like, there's nothing else like the Digger. There's nothing else like Artillery. You know, and I can keep going out like that. There's nothing connecting these books except for people that care and books that deserve to be told by Invader. And so like if you're looking for something new, look to those other publishers. If you ever get frustrated with the IP and the remake and remaster and it's based on this or it's just a reprinting of that, you find those stories at smaller houses. It's like A24 and Blumhouse and Neon, where it's like, oh, I'm frustrated that MGM is remaking the same movie again.
Right.
Like, how many times can we tell The Wizard of Oz? Well, then you go and get an A24 movie. It's the same thing in comic books. We haven't seen that a lot since the 90s because it's really hard to make comic books. And now those people who grew up reading Image more than they read Marvel and DC are old enough to make books now.
Most definitely. And like, I don't know if like, because I haven't seen much of Invader on like digital platforms, but has there been conversation from an indie perspective when it comes to your stuff being on like, say, Global Comics, or even now we have the guys who founded Comixology doing Neon Ichiban right now? Has there been those conversations of putting your book on digital platforms?
I mean, I've been bothering them about putting it on Sweet Shop because I'm a huge Sweet Shop fan. People need to get on there if you're looking for a new digital platform. I got my start on Comixology, so like there's going to be stuff like that on there. They do have a Global Comics page, but they sell everything digitally right off their website. So I don't know how much they're going to transition. I will say that you're going to see them growing more than ever because it was rough out there for everybody in the Diamond catalog. We talked about it offline. That book was thick, man, and it had everybody. And towards the end, Diamond was taking anybody. I own a piece of a small publisher called Professional Entropy, and we had a meeting with Diamond that they were going to put us in there. So if that says anything for who they would let in there. In the Lunar catalog, it's a little bit more curated. There's not nearly as many titles. It's kind of hard to get into their Massive Indies program. Massive is a sub-distributor with Lunar, and they do all of their indie section. That's where we're at with the Digger and Invader Comics. And I can't speak for the Invader guys. I've talked to shops, and they know who Invader is now that they're in the Lunar catalog, and they didn't before. When I first got the Invader deal and we were going to be in Diamond, I went to every shop that I could find between here, Ohio, Illinois, and none of them have even heard of Invader. And now they're like, oh yeah, we saw him in the Lunar catalog. We got a few copies of this coming in soon. And so they're going to be bigger. They're going to be growing. You're going to see them popping up in more places, and I'm sure they're going to expand into more digital platforms. But I do know that they're on Global Comics for now.
Well, like, and that even kind of speaks to something that we both know as longtime comic fans, is that the medium has shifted since we were all kind of dealing with a giant monopoly that was keeping the industry afloat. But like now that we were forced to change how we looked at things, it says a lot that people are going for, like, because I remember when Diamond was still a thing, I asked to pull a Mad Cave book back when they were smaller, and my shop was like, who? Like, what? And now I'm seeing Mad Cave and Vault at comic shops. I saw an Invader book at one of my LCSs, and I was like, that's actually so really intriguing. So it's like, I love to see that dynamic shift where you're seeing like titles like yours and Invader be considered more like they're professional.
Right, and because that's so hard, because people hear indie and they hear amateur, and it's hurt for a long time because I didn't really go through the indie phase of like, well, my buddy who kind of draws sometimes drew my book. I put out one book like that, and because I was, a grown man who worked for a company, like I wore the suit and tie and had meetings about meetings, like if I was going to do it, I was going to do it right. And so I immediately hit a professional level with the people I got to work with. So like my art was a little bit higher caliber than some indie books start out, but it was still really hard to sell that. Doesn't matter how good the book was, because they hear amateur when I say indie. So the fact that you're seeing some of these smaller publishers get some of that clout, get some of that shelf space at these shops, and people don't immediately go, it's an indie book, I don't want it. They can go, oh, it's a new publisher, this shop was willing to buy it, and you're getting more of those chances for some of those smaller publishers. I think it's going to go a long way to not just changing the industry, but changing the customer's interface with the industry, and being willing to check out something that's not Marvel, DC, Image, Boom, etc. Like being able to branch out a little bit more. Because even Vault and Ignition putting out some of the best books in the industry right now. Yeah. And I talk to other comic book nerds, and they're like, what is Vault? It's the same thing that Black Mass Studios went through a few years, until like Rosenberg was getting really big and, 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank blew up. Yeah. I mentioned Black Mass Studios and they're like, what are you talking about? What is 4 Kids Walk Into the Bank? And it hurt my feelings because like that's some of my favorite books in the whole biz. And I just see more people being willing to branch out. It started, of course, with digital stuff, but we're seeing like a wax and wane with digital right now. Right now, if you're not on the Marvel app or the DC Unlimited app or whatever it's called, DC Universe, it's hard to tell people to go read a digital comic. They don't want it. Like, we were back in this collector mentality. Here's my comic haul. It's new comic book day, TikToks, trend. When I tell people to go buy one of my digital books, they're like, why would I do that? Like, that sucks.
It's interesting, too, because we were kind of in a period where it felt like digital was going to be the thing that
Going to
everyone
be
considered. Like you had your first appearances that were collected, but digital was where it was at moving forward. But we're seeing this idea that people are revisiting comics as a safe haven from the world we live in now.
Right.
But I think that you can even speak to this as someone who's a longtime reader. I'm worried about the people who are just buying to make a new comic book day video, and if they're actually like making good economic choices.
Oh, that's things. As a dad, not even as a comic book reader, as a dad, like before I had kids, I hit the comic book shop every Wednesday, sometimes Saturday too, and I spent hundreds of dollars every single time I was in there. Way too much money. And then when I became a father, I was like, well, I can't do this. These kids eat every day. They need new shoes all the time. Like, you can't do it. And I see these dudes on TikTok. I'm like, I love seeing their hauls. I love seeing what's on people's pull list. What are they excited about? What kind of variant covers are out there? Because I live vicariously through them because I can't buy that stuff. I got to wait for the trade because I got to pay for this book to come out. I was so excited for Void Rivals, but I had to wait till the trade came out for me to pick up Volume 3 because it's so expensive, And not in a bad way. I appreciate comic books are getting their due, but it costs a lot of money. So when I see these kids who are like, I'm just getting into comic books, here's my haul, and it's this big.
That thick.
I have
like 80s and 90s vibes.
It is, right? Like, so I have a box of shame, I call it, in my closet. It's a long box. It's labeled box of shame, and it's not what you think, or maybe it is. I don't know. It depends if you collected comics, because my kids got into my long boxes. We just moved, and they're getting into comics right now. And my son's like, Dad, can I have this box, or can I look through it? And I was like, yeah, man, totally. That's a lot of Spider-Man. It's a lot of Marvel. And he goes, okay, and he pulls it out, and it's the normal Spider-Man cover. And he pulls out the next one, it's a Scotty Young cover. And the next one's another Scotty Young cover. And he was like, Dad, most of this box is like 2 books. And I was like, well, yeah, I had a problem with variants. It was just every variant cover that Marvel put out one year. That's where my money went. It's like, I have every single chibi Scotty Young baby cover that came out between 2014 and 2017.
So
because I had a problem.
We're going to get a Digger Scotty Young variant.
Oh my God, he is my hero. I would love that so much. I don't run in the same circles, as it were, but if it could ever happen, that would be the goal. Him or like Sean Murphy or something. But
ooh, I could see a Sean Murphy Digger be hitting hard.
God, Sean Murphy, like I could just stare at his artwork. I have a big print of his Final Fantasy VII artwork that he did a few years ago. I just stare at it all day. But like, I love their stuff, but the variant cover stuff, the cost to get that big stack of book, we're talking hundreds of dollars. And they do it every week. And I don't know, maybe it works out, like maybe they get enough followers off TikTok to where like it pays out.
You can compensate itself, yeah.
Right, exactly. Maybe it makes sense, but as a collector of comics and as a reader of comics, I just worry about their wallets, man. I'm a dad, like I couldn't do that, and most of these are young guys that are doing it, so maybe it's fine. They have the money to spend, but I just worry about economics of it all. I'm like, are you going broke making these comic book hauls? Are you going to be a comic book reader next year? Like, are you going to be like pricing yourself out of the industry because you spent all your money this year on 2 Wednesdays,
I do have to pitch you on a issue 1 variant / issue 4 final variant.
Okay.
A golden shovel variant. I gotta pitch you on that.
Oh my God, that would be so cool.
Like it's just like there's one word bubble above an arm, and it says "We dig." Like how that first page is.
Like in the first page.
It is just a golden shovel.
Do you remember
how solid that would be?
It would be so cool. We both were a little bit past that boom of like the foil covers, but do you remember the foil covers from the 90s? Like the solid, like I have a solid gold Onslaught cover, and I'm like, I know it's one of my favorite things I have. It's like worthless still. Like it was expensive at the time, but
that time period where it was
totally
fun. Like I have a foil armored Spider-Man variant.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it's one of those things of like, I can totally see just for the playfulness of the past, like just even if it's like just a little bit different kind of like cardstock, but it's like a golden shovel variant. It would be so funny.
Like I don't know how real, if issues 1 through 3 sell through the moon, maybe I could pull that off. But like I'm so unknown that like there's no money behind this. Like when we had to figure out variant covers, because it came up so fast, and like Diamond really discouraged variant covers for a really silly reason. Mostly it was because they didn't have enough room to fit everything in there.
That's
Lunar
fair.
came to Invader and was like, "Hey, you should be doing variant covers. This series would do well with 2 or 3 covers." And they came to us. They're like, "Hey, do you have something?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah. If you give us a few weeks, I know I have friends in the industry. I can have an artist." They're like, "We need it." Now. Like the solicit is due today, and I said, hold on. There are 7 splash pages in issue 1.
I saw
Grab
that
one of
you
them.
did that with the, and it was so interesting because like for so long on TikTok you're like using the one cover and that ended up being the cover B, and I'm like, what this doesn't make sense because I went to go pull it on League of Comic Geeks and I was like, no, this is the cover A, right? It's like,
I
no,
think
that's
it
the cover
was.
B.
I think it was originally a mix-up. I think it was originally like, oh, like it's going fast and loose. The Lunar catalog, they had moved some dates around on us, so I think it was a mistake originally. And then they were like, people really like this cover, and I was like, it is cover A. You are correct. This was all on purpose.
It's so cool the way you did it, where like just a take out a word bubble, and you made it look iconic in that way, and it's so cool what you can do. It almost reminds me of what we've seen recently with DC doing like first and second printings and third printings.
Yeah.
They'll take like how they did with Deadpool Batman. That's in that one page
One
of the
page,
weird
exactly.
Lobo Wolverine dude, and said, all right, cool, it's the cover now. Like you're taking industry traits and making it your own, and I love that.
It's the best that you can do, and again, like we're playing, chess with checkers money. Like we're doing the best that we can in the business, because I think people forget, like, it's a big deal when a lot of my friends in the industry saw that I had a publisher behind this one, and it was a publisher that isn't like a buddy of mine started it. Like I got a legit publisher behind me. They just expected that like money was being thrown around, and I was like, I don't think you understand. Even at the highest levels of the industry, money isn't being thrown around. Like that is just not how it works. So it's like we have to play with what we have, and what we have is Sam Goodlin's amazing art on a splash page, like every few pages if I can, because he's the real star of the show. I hope people like my writing, but man, you're gonna get a treat if you buy this just to look at it. It's going to be gorgeous. So that's where a lot of the variant covers came from.
For a sketch of one of the Aztec like end pages, like especially the issue 2, like that final shot of like the dude on the top of the thing, I would pay for a sketch of that. Like that looks that good.
Well, let me tell you, at Sam Goodlin over on Instagram, go and follow him because he does some amazing art. His commissions are usually open, but like he's blowing up right now. Like this book already has done a lot of stuff for him. I've had people hit me up going, "Hey, can I talk to Sam?" And I'm like, I'm not his agent. Like, he's just on Instagram. You can hire him. Like, we're buddies, but like, I don't control what he's working on. But he's already been hit up on what is he doing next. I would love, if you're curious on what I'm working on next, please come and hire me. But Sam is amazing. He's gonna blow up way faster than I ever did. So if you want a piece of Sam Goodlin art, go get it now.
He posted the cover for issue 2, and that just looks adorable. Like it looks so terrifying, but so adorable. Dude's like with the kid in the front, but then it's like, oh, is that a crowbar?
I mean, funny thing about that one is that's not even going to end up being a cover for it. If we go to second printing, it'll be a variant cover, or perhaps a cover 3.
Okay.
It was originally going to be, but he never got a chance to finish it. He's been working on other stuff, and we were barreling through issues 3 and 4 so fast that he did not go back and finish the cover. So we had to pull some different covers for issue 2, and that's partly where the whole cascade came from. So we're probably going to sell that as an art print. He's probably going to do a variant if we ever. I would love to get to a second printing. I don't hold out hope, but if it ever does, it'll be a variant cover for that. So that's just like his take on what the cover would have been for issue 2.
Darn, that looks so good.
I mean, all of like anything. He sends me sketches and I save them, print them out, and throw them up on my wall because they're so pretty.
It looks so good. Like it reminds me of Sanford Green's art a lot of the time.
I love Sanford.
It feels like he's my favorite artist of all time because he balances he's so good at giving black characters the way they've always meant to look, but then like, yeah, that's Guy Gardner over there. That's totally Guy Gardner. But like, this is what certain characters, or I've even been loving Dan Mora and Jorge Jimenez, because they're people who have seen culture and know how to capture culture well.
1,000%.
And
like
I see
it's
that
so
in
good.
Sam a lot.
I know, and he's big like the Addams Family original sketches. Like if you've seen that stuff, there's a lot of that influence in there. But Sanford Green was a big push for me when I was saying, "Hey, this is kind of what I want the book to look like." Because I mean, his Power Man and Iron Fist book, like that's one of my favorite pieces of Marvel anything.
Yes.
So it got a short wrap. Like I really wish it could have gone for another 100 issues. But
It makes me so mad that it was a victim of the Netflix situation where they were like, "Yeah, we gotta put Danny and Luke in different books," and I'm like, "But and that's why Bitterroot has been so good, because Bitterroot is David and Sanford just capturing magic. That's why like when we were asked on the podcast last week of like who is one of your favorite writer like artist duos, I'm like, David and Sanford, because they know how to make culture great in such a great way. And like if I want to see like this, you and Sam here in this feels really good. If you don't touch Supernatural now, I want to see Supernatural with you two later.
I mean, listen, I would love to tell any story I can with Sam. Like we're starting to get asked, like I said, what's coming next. And if people really dig this, if they like our team up, if they like what we're doing, make sure you go and buy the book, because we're so like new to the industry of like getting to work with publishers. We'll write anything we can. If you tell enough people that you want a T.S. Luther book, I'm probably going to sign on, because I like writing anything. And I love supernatural stories, and I love where like Uncharted, Indiana Jones, those big twists that they do at the end. I would love to go somewhere heavy with some of that stuff. But like right now, my hands are shackled by the ties of the economy, and I can make one book at a time. You know, I'm always honest with people, because this is starting to get some traction. You might never see another T.S. Luther book. I'm that like low on the totem pole where like it's not a guarantee that you're getting another one. It's not like, you know, if Tynion has a flop, he'll get another book. You know, no one read The Closet, it's fine. Something is Killing the Children Volume 9 is going to come out. It's fine. Like it's not like that. If this flops, I'm gone. I'm out of this.
It's wild because like you're so humble, but I want to like kick you in the knee and be like, "No, be awesome. You're great. Stop it." Like it's one of those, like it's like I want to you up, but not like come off ass kissy, where it's like I see something in what you've written here, and it's like just from the issue 2, like the issue 2 has me stuck, where it's like you caught me, and now I'm like, all right, where's issue 3? Because so it's like when you're like so humble, I'm like, damn it, believe in yourself. Like,
listen, I believe it. I hope for the best. I'm prepared for the worst, but I'm a pragmatic guy, and the industry is really crowded, and it's not crowded with a lot of crap. It's crowded with some of the best people who have ever written comics. Like when I list those big names, it's not because it's like, oh, there's only so much new comic books out there. It's like, no, they're still writing fire. Like I was not disappointed when Matt Fraction came on Batman. I'm like, yes, this is gonna be an amazing one. This is gonna be killer. Like I'm so excited for all these books, and I love this stuff. When Stephanie Phillips gets another book, I'm not like, oh man, like the Marvel Wonder Kid. I'm like, no, heck yes. I'm so pumped for these people. People are not putting out bad books.
Like her new book for Distillery is amazing.
It's so good, and that's the thing. So it's just a little bit of pragmatism. I think my writing's good. I hope that you like it, and I think if people buy the book, they're not going to be disappointed. However, that does not mean that I get to then break into comics. You know, it's such a tough industry, and I have no control over that. What I can do is write the best book I can. I think a really telling thing, if you look at the Mad Cave talent search that happened, you know, throughout the last few months, they just announced the winners. 2 of the bigger winners from it, like the writer category, one of them had credits for like Amazon. They had directed TV shows. They've written for TV and movies.
Right.
And that was a talent search. They had to go through a public audition of a talent search to get a comic book gig. And this is someone who has worked in Hollywood. So if that's what they have to do to break in, imagine what I would have to jump through to try to do this. So it's just a little bit of pragmatism. I'm not trying to be falsely humble. I'm not trying to say I don't hope I'm going to keep going. But it's a really, really competitive industry in a good way. There's so many people that I have to compete with. So it's just a little bit of like, listen, you might not see another T.S. Luther book, but I hope you do. And I'm going to keep writing it. And if you never do, you're going to be able to buy the Digger from Invader forever, because they're an awesome company. And they're going to sell it until I'm in the ground.
Fair enough. Digger, ground.
You get it. I hope you dig it.
So we always have like what is the closing statement of the episode, and I want to like spin yours a little bit because there's been a lot of people who have been hitting me up to be on the show to show off their book and be like, hey, check us out. But like you're one of the lucky few who has gotten a publisher to look at you. What hope or what like message do you want to give to other creators? Is the part one, but the part two is what do you want to tell people to potentially look at your book?
Give me the second part again, real quick, as I formulate my thought.
Part one is how, like, what inspiration would you tell for other creatives? But part two is what do you want to tell people to check out the Digger?
Oh, okay. So part one definitely is it can be done, right? Like I was a nobody last year. No one had heard of any of my indie stuff. If you want it bad enough, if you love comic books and you have a story to tell, you can do it. You can learn the skill. People have scripts online that you can learn how to write a script from. I sell my scripts too. There's a lot publicly available. If you just ask, if you reach out to me, I'll give you one of my scripts. There's so many pros that you can learn from. So you can go and learn to write it. You can learn to draw. You don't need to use AI slop. You can learn to draw. You can find artists. You can find writers. You can find a team to make a book. There are people willing to try out because they also love comic books. So you can do this thing if you really want it. Don't get discouraged just because you didn't do it the first time around. When it comes to publishers, you're probably not going to get to Marvel or DC. They're not looking at your sample pages. They're not hunting you down. You got to fight for that chance. No one is listening. Like I said in that video, it's like I asked 100 podcasts to be on. James just is awesome and said that I could be on. Like, I asked 100, 5 said yes. And that goes for publishers, that goes for artists, that goes for writers, that goes for anybody that you want to check out your work. A lot of people are not going to say anything. Some people are going to say no. Very few are going to say yes, but there are people. There are chances. You can go and do this. You just really got to fight for it. And if you're willing to fight and you're willing to outlast everybody else, I tell people a lot, I am not getting gigs right now because I've gotten so much better at writing. I'm getting gigs right now because I outlasted everybody who gave up. And if you can do that, it's a battle of attrition. You too can go and work for places like Invader, Mad Cave, Vault, Ignition, Aftershock. The list goes on. There are places that are willing to give chances to new talent. If you're willing to put your money where your mouth is. It's a pay-to-play industry.
Yeah.
The reason why Invader picked my book, obviously it's because it's awesome, right? They love it. I love it. Right. Sam's art is gorgeous. I wrote a good book. A big part of why they picked it is because it was done. I had an entire issue. We didn't give them a sample pitch packet, and I can't speak for publishers.
You were ready to go to print right there.
Exactly, and I like I said, I can't speak for publishers, especially not the bigger ones. But I've been told if they're going to give a chance to someone who has never published anything, or they're new, or they're just not going to pull a big audience, they gotta have to put in very little work. They gotta be able to put your book on the shelf. So come with a book ready to go, and you're going to increase your chances 100-fold. If any of that doesn't sound crazy and you like Indiana Jones or the pitch, what if Indiana Jones hunted short round? This book is for you. If you want something that you're not going to get at Marvel or DC, if you're looking for a cat and mouse thriller, something fun, something that is made for the trade. It is 4 issues and then a graphic novel, and that's it. That's all together. That's all you're going to get of the Digger right now. You get the whole story. It's fun. It's scary. You're going to be at the edge of your seat. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry. I'm a student of Steven Spielberg, and I want you to feel all of the things. And if you're questioning whether or not that was on purpose, it is. So if you're going to have fun with any of the stuff that I just said, you're going to love the Digger. And if you hate everything that I said, and you think that this guy stinks, he's probably a terrible writer too, and I don't like his beard, Sam Goodlin's art is enough for you to go and buy that book. Somebody paid us to make this book. That's how much they believed in it. And nobody has any money anymore. So if they're willing to let us make a book, it's probably good, right? Like, it's just that simple. So go and check it out. And please, if you see this before December 1st, go to your local comic book shop and beg them to put it on their shelves. I'm a nobody. If you miss your chance, it might not be at your shop. If you don't go tell them right now, they're not going to go, oh, T.S. Luthor, love that guy. I've seen him dance on TikTok. That book's not going to be at that shop. You got to go and ask for it. So please go and do that. Did I miss anything, James?
No, that was amazing. Thank you so much for being here. It means so much to me that you're here for this.
Oh, dude, thank you so much for having me. Like, the fact that you came back around and you have this podcast and you're willing to hear out indie creators and let us yap about our books that no one's ever heard of, like, it's everything. Because like I said, a lot of people don't say anything, and if they do say something, it's no. So the fact that you're giving us a chance to talk about this stuff, the fact that you reach out to me and said, hey, tell your other indie friends, tell them to ask me to come on the podcast, that's so much. Because you know what was right next to that message? So many no's, just like 1,000 no's of like, nah, we don't have time. Nah, we're talking to Mad Cave right now. Like, I love the Mad Cave guys. Like, I'm glad they're blowing up. But like, that was most of what I saw next to your message. So I was ready. I told my whole family, I'm like, you do not do anything with me at 6 o'clock. I have a place to be. I have to be on this podcast.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much.